My wife stole my son through an email while I was closing the biggest business deal of my career. The message popped up on my phone screen at exactly 7:23 a.m. Athens time, and my coffee cup shattered against the marble conference table. Sarah's words were ice cold and precise. David, I've filed for emergency custody of Jake. The court granted temporary orders effective immediately. Do not attempt contact with either of us. Legal proceedings are underway. Sarah Mitchell. 3 sentences. 15 years of marriage reduced to 3 sentences. I was in Greece finalizing a construction contract worth $200,000 for our family's future. Jake was my 7-year-old boy who still asked me to check under his bed for monsters every night. Jake who drew me pictures of us playing soccer together. Jake who cried when I left for this business trip just 5 days ago. Sarah had encouraged me to take this opportunity, saying the money would secure Jake's college fund and maybe let us buy the bigger house we'd been dreaming about. My hand shook as I tried calling her. Straight to voicemail. Jake's phone went to voicemail too. Sarah had disconnected both numbers. Every call I made bounced back like hitting a brick wall. The hotel room suddenly felt like a prison cell, and the important contract documents scattered across my desk might as well have been worthless paper. Racing to my laptop, I logged into our joint bank account. Account frozen. Credit cards canceled. Sarah had moved faster than lightning, cutting off every financial lifeline I had. The woman who used to pack my business lunches and kiss me goodbye at the airport had turned into someone I didn't recognize. Someone who planned attacks instead of supporting my career. 24 hours earlier, I had texted Jake goodnight from this same hotel room after 12 hours of contract negotiations. He sent back a photo of his gap-toothed smile and his new Lego spaceship. Sarah had even responded to my text about the deal going well, sending heart emojis and promising they'd celebrate when I got home. Everything seemed normal. Everything was a lie. My phone buzzed with another email. This one from a law firm I'd never heard of, Brennan, Walsh and Associates. They represented Sarah in emergency custody proceedings scheduled for tomorrow morning. Tomorrow morning, when I'd be trapped in a foreign country working to provide for my family. The timing wasn't coincidence. Sarah had calculated every detail around my business schedule. Bank statements started flooding my email inbox. Months of our financial records, organized and highlighted in yellow marker. Someone had been tracking every dollar I spent, every business meal, every client dinner. My work expenses were circled in red ink with question marks. Legitimate receipts for project materials were marked, unexplained charges. Even my work truck payments were labeled, excessive spending. Sarah earned $68,000 a year as a marketing director. I made $52,000 as a construction project manager, plus whatever I could bring in through side contracts like this Greek deal. Yet somehow, she'd painted me as financially controlling in legal documents I couldn't even access properly from overseas. The paperwork mentioned pattern of economic abuse and restricting access to marital funds. Reading those words felt like being punched in the stomach. 3 weeks ago, Sarah asked me to handle all our bill payments because she was swamped at work with a major client presentation. She handed me a stack of envelopes and kissed my forehead, thanking me for working so hard to support our family. Now that same supportive behavior was being used as evidence against me in court. I found myself remembering small moments that suddenly seemed different. Sarah insisting I take this business opportunity despite Jake's protests about me leaving. Sarah encouraging me to extend my stay if the deal needed more time. Her sister Monica calling twice last week to ask about my exact travel dates. Even Jake's teacher, Mrs. Peterson, asking unusual questions about my work schedule when I picked him up from school. Everyone knew except me. The hotel business center became my desperate headquarters at midnight, trying to book an emergency flight home while finishing contract paperwork worth thousands of dollars. Sir, the earliest connection through Amsterdam gets you to Chicago tomorrow at 6 p.m., the travel agent explained. Nothing direct available until Thursday. Thursday would be too late. The custody hearing was set for Wednesday at 9 a.m. sharp. Sarah's email mentioned witness statements. Witness statements about what? I'd never raised my voice to Jake. Never missed a soccer game or school play despite working 60-hour weeks. Never forgot a birthday or anniversary even when deadlines were crushing me. I coached his little league team every Saturday morning before heading to job sites. I read bedtime stories in funny voices that made him giggle until Sarah shushed us from the hallway. Yet somehow, strangers would stand in a courtroom tomorrow and tell a judge I was unfit to see my own son. My reflection in the hotel window looked hollow and defeated. The man staring back at me had been completely fooled by someone he'd shared a bed with for 15 years. Someone who knew about every business trip, every client meeting, every sacrifice I made to build our family's financial security. Sarah had weaponized my dedication to providing for them. The worst part wasn't losing access to my bank accounts or facing legal charges I didn't understand. The worst part was realizing my wife had been planning my destruction while I was working 18-hour days to give Jake a better life. While I was being a provider and father, she was being a strategist in a war I didn't know we were fighting. But something felt wrong about the timeline, and I needed to figure out what Sarah was really hiding behind this perfectly timed attack. Emergency flights from Greek business districts cost more money than most people make in a month, but I didn't care about the $3,000 price tag. Every minute Jake spent thinking I'd chosen work over family was another minute Sarah's lies took deeper root. The plane couldn't move fast enough as I sat trapped in economy class, watching other passengers sleep peacefully while my world collapsed at 30,000 feet. Amsterdam's airport became my temporary headquarters during the 6-hour layover. 17 phone calls to Sarah went straight to voicemail. Jake's number was completely disconnected. I tried calling our neighbors, Jake's school, even my own construction company. Everyone suddenly became unavailable or claimed they didn't know anything. The silence felt coordinated, like Sarah had briefed an entire community on avoiding me. Mrs. Rodriguez next door finally answered on my 18th attempt. Her voice sounded nervous and rehearsed. "David, I think it's best if you don't call here anymore." Sarah showed us the court papers. "She said you chose your business deals over Jake's safety." She hung up before I could explain I was working for our family's future. My own neighbor of 8 years had been convinced I was some kind of workaholic monster. Landing in Chicago felt like entering enemy territory. Sarah had transformed my hometown into a place where I couldn't trust anyone. The rental car company required extra documentation because my credit cards were flagged. Even getting transportation home became a battle designed to slow me down and exhaust my resources. Driving through our neighborhood, everything looked exactly the same but felt completely different. The house where Jake learned to ride his bike while I held the back of his seat. The corner store where we bought ice cream after my Saturday job sites. The park where I taught him to throw a baseball during my lunch breaks. Sarah had contaminated every memory by turning my work ethic into evidence of neglect. Our driveway had a white van parked in it that I didn't recognize. 2 men in work uniforms were installing something on our front door. As I got closer, I realized they were changing the locks to my own house. The locksmith looked uncomfortable when he saw me approaching with my work duffel bag and exhausted expression from 30 hours of travel. "Sorry, sir, but I've got a court order here," he said, pulling out official-looking paperwork. "You're not permitted on this property until further notice." "I'm just doing my job." He showed me a document with my name highlighted in yellow and legal language I couldn't understand. Judge Morrison had signed the order at 2 p.m. yesterday, while I was still trapped on an airplane over the Atlantic Ocean. My house key felt useless in my pocket. The garage door opener in my work truck wouldn't function because they'd already changed the codes. Even the spare key hidden under the fake rock by our mailbox had been removed. Sarah had thought of everything, including cutting off my access to clothes, work documents, and personal belongings I'd need for legal battles ahead. Standing on my own sidewalk, I felt like a stranger watching someone else's life get dismantled. Jake's bedroom window faced the street, and I could see his night light glowing behind dinosaur curtains we'd hung together last Christmas. He was so close, but might as well have been on another planet. Mrs. Rodriguez peered through her blinds with an expression mixing pity and suspicion. Other neighbors found reasons to check their mailboxes or walk their dogs, stealing glances at the man who'd been kicked out of his own home. Sarah had successfully painted me as someone so dangerous that emergency protection orders were necessary, despite never filing a single police report about domestic issues. My phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. "Dad's banned from the house. Mom says he cares more about work than us. Are you really not coming back?" Jake had somehow gotten access to a phone and found my number. My 7-year-old son was asking if his father had chosen business over family. Sarah's manipulation had reached even him. Before I could respond, the message disappeared. Someone had taken Jake's phone away, probably Sarah monitoring his communications. She was controlling every interaction between us, deciding what information he received about his father's absence. In Jake's mind, I'd simply chosen a business deal over coming home to my family. The locksmith finished his work and drove away, leaving me standing on a sidewalk with nowhere to go. Hotels required credit cards that were frozen. Work colleagues might have been contacted by Sarah's lawyer and warned not to help me. My own brother lived in California and wouldn't understand the legal complexities of emergency custody orders. Evening approached as I sat in my rental car outside our house, hoping to catch a glimpse of Jake playing in the backyard or Sarah moving around in the kitchen. Normal family activities were happening just 50 feet away, but I was legally prohibited from participating. The house I'd been working to pay off, the mortgage I'd been covering through overtime and side contracts, the life I'd built through 15 years of hard labor had been stolen through paperwork I couldn't challenge. Around sunset, a moving truck pulled up to our driveway. Two professional movers started loading boxes and furniture I recognized from Jake's bedroom. Sarah was erasing my presence from his daily life, removing photos and belongings that proved I'd ever been part of the family. Even my favorite chair, the one where I read bedtime stories after long workdays, got wrapped in blankets and loaded into the truck. Then I saw Jake's face pressed against the living room window, watching strangers take away pieces of his childhood. He looked confused and scared, probably wondering why his father wasn't there to stop them. Sarah appeared behind him and quickly pulled him away from the window, but not before I saw him mouth the word "Daddy" against the glass. That's when I realized Sarah wasn't just trying to win custody, she was trying to make Jake believe I'd abandoned them for money. The lawyer's waiting room smelled like fear and broken promises, but I didn't care because I'd just discovered something that changed everything. Henderson's secretary handed me a stack of court documents thicker than a phone book, and buried on page 47 was a name that made my blood freeze. Dr. Rebecca Walsh, licensed family therapist. The same Dr. Walsh who'd provided expert testimony about my pattern of emotional abuse had been Sarah's college roommate at Northwestern University. Henderson's office felt more like a funeral parlor than a place where justice happened. Diplomas covered every wall, but they couldn't hide the defeat in his voice when he explained my situation. "David, I'm going to be straight with you. Your wife filed under the Emergency Protection Act, claiming you've been emotionally abusive and financially controlling." The words hit me like hammers. She's provided witness statements from her sister Monica and Dr. Rebecca Walsh, plus financial records going back 18 months. Financial records I'd never seen before appeared across his desk like playing cards in a rigged game. Every business dinner I'd expensed was highlighted in yellow with suspicious question marks. Hotel receipts from work trips were circled in red ink. Even my gym membership payment was marked as excessive personal spending. Sarah had been building a case against me for over a year, documenting normal work expenses as evidence of financial abuse. How is paying for business meals considered abuse? I asked, staring at receipts from client dinners that had brought thousands of dollars into our family budget. Henderson's expression told me logic didn't matter in family court. Someone had spent months creating a narrative where my dedication to providing for my family became proof of my unfitness as a father. Dr. Walsh's report claimed I showed classic signs of controlling behavior and emotional manipulation tactics commonly seen in domestic abuse cases. Reading her analysis felt like watching someone describe a stranger who happened to have my name. According to her professional opinion, my long work hours demonstrated avoidance of family responsibilities, and my business trip showed prioritizing career over child welfare. Monica's witness statement was the most painful betrayal. Sarah's sister had been in our house dozens of times, watching me help Jake with homework and cook family dinners after 12-hour workdays. Yet she'd signed a legal document claiming I was often angry and impatient with Jake, and frequently absent from important family events. Every kind interaction she'd witnessed had been twisted into evidence against me. The emergency custody order froze my bank accounts pending a full financial investigation. Sarah claimed I'd been hiding money and restricting her access to family funds, despite her earning more than me and having her own credit cards. Our joint savings account containing $15,000 was now controlled by the court until they determined if I'd been financially abusive. Henderson explained the timeline working against me. Emergency protection orders could last up to 30 days while investigations took place. During that month, Jake would live with Sarah and have no contact with me except through supervised visits at a family services building. Those visits would be monitored by social workers looking for signs of the abuse Dr. Walsh claimed I'd committed. The system is designed to protect children from genuine threats, Henderson said, shuffling through more paperwork. Unfortunately, it can also be weaponized by someone who understands how to manipulate the process. He'd seen cases like mine before, calculating spouses who used emergency protection laws as weapons in custody battles, knowing that accusations alone could separate families for weeks or months. Sarah's strategy became clearer as Henderson walked me through each document. She'd filed on a Friday afternoon, knowing I'd be unreachable on a business trip until Monday. The emergency hearing happened on Saturday morning with only her side presenting evidence. By the time I could respond, temporary orders were already in place and Jake was already living under her version of reality. Dr. Walsh's credentials looked impressive on paper. Licensed therapist, family court consultant, author of articles about domestic abuse patterns. But Henderson's investigation revealed something Sarah probably hoped we'd never discover. Walsh specialized in emergency custody cases and had provided expert testimony in over 200 similar situations during the past 5 years. Her success rate was nearly perfect. She's a professional witness, Henderson explained. Some lawyers keep therapists like Walsh on retainer for exactly these situations. She knows what language family court judges want to hear. Walsh had never met me, never observed my interactions with Jake, never conducted any actual therapy sessions with our family. Her entire analysis was based on financial documents and statements from Sarah and Monica. The supervised visitation schedule would allow me to see Jake for 2 hours every Wednesday and Saturday at the Riverside Family Center. Social workers would watch our every interaction, taking notes about my behavior and emotional responses. Those notes would become part of the permanent record used to determine final custody arrangements. But Henderson had found something else hidden in the legal filing that gave me hope. Sarah's lawyer had made a crucial mistake in their rush to process the emergency order. They'd listed Dr. Walsh as having conducted ongoing family therapy sessions with our household, which was completely false. That lie could unravel their entire case if we could prove Walsh had never actually worked with our family. My phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. "Dad, Mrs. Peterson asked why you missed my school play. Mom said you were too busy with work to come. I saved you a program anyway." Jake had somehow gotten access to another phone, and his message broke my heart into pieces. Henderson leaned forward with the first hopeful expression I'd seen from him. "David, if we can prove Dr. Walsh lied about providing therapy to your family, we might be able to get this entire order dismissed." Social media became my detective tool at 3 in the morning, and what I found about Dr. Rebecca Walsh made me realize this conspiracy went deeper than I'd imagined. Her Northwestern University alumni page showed photos from 1998 to 2002 where she appeared in dozens of pictures with Sarah Mitchell, my wife. They'd been roommates, sorority sisters, and maid of honor at each other's weddings. Walsh had been systematically helping Sarah destroy families for money. The public library became my headquarters because Sarah had cut off my internet access and frozen accounts I needed for research. Sitting between homeless people and college students, I dug through online records that revealed Walsh's disturbing pattern. She testified in emergency custody cases across 3 counties, always supporting the same law firm that represented Sarah, always claiming fathers were emotionally abusive, always recommending immediate custody changes. Walsh's professional website listed impressive credentials and testimonials from grateful mothers who'd escaped dangerous family situations. But digging deeper into court records, I found something that made my stomach turn. 43 of her cases involved fathers who worked in construction, manufacturing, or other jobs requiring travel. Men like me who worked hard to provide for their families but could be painted as absent or controlling. Financial records told the real story once I learned how to read between the lines. Walsh charged $3,000 for emergency custody evaluations that took less than 6 hours to complete. She'd earned over $200,000 in the past year from testimony alone. Her friendship with Sarah had become a profitable business model built on destroying father-son relationships. The storage unit discovery happened by accident when I was searching through my truck for loose change to pay library parking meters. A receipt fell out of my glove compartment for Secure Store Riverside Unit 247 dated 3 weeks before my business trip to Greece. I'd never rented a storage unit in my life, but someone had forged my signature and used my credit card information to create evidence. Driving to the storage facility felt like walking into a trap, but I needed to see what Sarah had planted there. The manager, a tired-looking woman named Betty, checked my identification against the rental agreement. "You're paid through next month, honey. Haven't seen you since you dropped off all those boxes." Someone who looked enough like me had been creating an evidence trail. Unit 247 contained items I recognized from our house mixed with things I'd never seen before. My father's military medals were there alongside fake financial documents claiming I'd hidden money from Sarah. Jake's baby photos were stored next to printed emails I'd supposedly sent but never written. Someone had created an alternate version of my life designed to make me look guilty of financial crimes. The printed emails were the most disturbing evidence. Messages to fictional business partners discussing keeping money away from Sarah and making sure she doesn't find the overseas accounts. Written in my communication style but containing plans I'd never made. Sarah had been studying my writing patterns for months, creating fake correspondence that would fool anyone who didn't know the truth. Bank statements in the storage unit showed accounts I'd never opened at institutions I'd never visited. Someone had used my social security number and personal information to create financial records that supported Sarah's claims about hidden money. The paperwork was sophisticated enough to fool investigators who didn't look too closely at signature comparisons or application dates. Henderson's office felt different when I arrived with boxes of evidence from the storage unit. His expression changed from hopeful to amazed as we spread fake documents across his conference table. "David, this is conspiracy and fraud on a massive scale. Your wife didn't just plan to take custody, she planned to destroy your reputation and possibly send you to prison." The fake overseas banking documents were particularly damaging because they showed supposed deposits during my business trips. Someone had created paper trails suggesting I'd been funneling family money into secret accounts during legitimate work travel. If investigators believed these records, I could face criminal charges for financial fraud and tax evasion. Sarah's phone records became available through Henderson's legal discovery process, and they revealed the true scope of her planning. Daily calls to Walsh starting 6 months ago. Weekly conversations with Monica lasting over an hour each. Text messages to numbers belonging to private investigators and document specialists. She'd assembled a team of professionals to manufacture evidence against me. The timeline of Sarah's deception was methodical and cruel. She'd encouraged me to take the Greece business opportunity while secretly filing court documents. She'd asked me to handle bill payments while photographing financial records as evidence. She'd even suggested I extend my trip, knowing it would make me look more irresponsible when the custody battle started. Jake's school records revealed another layer of manipulation that broke my heart. Sarah had been telling his teachers and coaches that I was having emotional problems and struggling with work stress. She planted seeds of doubt about my stability months before filing for custody. Even people who'd watched me volunteer at school events started questioning my fitness as a father. Dr. Walsh's medical license application contained one crucial lie that could destroy her credibility completely. She'd claimed to have completed family therapy training at Stanford University, but Henderson's investigator discovered she'd never been enrolled there. Her entire career was built on false credentials that no one had bothered to verify. Monica's financial records showed payments from Sarah totaling $8,000 over the past 4 months. The woman who testified about my abusive behavior had been paid to lie in court documents. Her witness statement wasn't sisterly concern, it was purchased testimony designed to separate me from my son. The fake email accounts were the smoking gun that proved everything. Sarah had created email addresses using variations of my name to send herself threatening messages. She'd built a harassment case using emails she'd written to herself, then claimed I was stalking and intimidating her. The IP addresses all traced back to our home computer during hours when I was at work. Henderson looked stunned as we assembled evidence of Sarah's elaborate fraud. "David, this isn't just custody manipulation anymore. This is identity theft, fraud, conspiracy, and possibly racketeering. Your wife could face federal criminal charges." But Jake was still living with someone who'd spent months planning to destroy his father, and I needed to get him back before Sarah's lies became his permanent reality. Sarah's car was parked outside Monica's house at exactly 3:47 p.m., and I knew this was my only chance to record her confession before she realized how much evidence I'd gathered. Henderson had given me a digital recorder and explicit instructions about legal boundaries, but nothing could have prepared me for what I was about to discover about the woman I'd shared a bed with for 15 years. The device felt heavy in my pocket as I approached the front door, knowing that whatever happened in the next hour would determine whether I ever saw Jake again. Monica answered the door with panic written across her face. She'd been expecting me, probably warned by Sarah to watch for my arrival. "David, you can't be here. The restraining order specifically says no contact." Her voice shook like someone reading lines from a script they didn't believe. Behind her, I could hear Jake's laughter mixing with cartoons from the television, and it took every ounce of self-control not to push past her and grab my son. "I know about the $8,000 Sarah paid you, Monica," I said quietly, watching her expression crumble. "I know about Dr. Walsh being Sarah's college roommate. I know about the fake storage unit and the forged bank documents. So let's skip the acting and have a real conversation." The color drained from her face as she realized their carefully constructed plan was falling apart. Sarah appeared behind Monica like a ghost materializing from thin air. She looked different somehow, colder and more calculating than the woman who used to make me coffee every morning. "You're violating a court order by being here, David. I'm calling the police." She held up her phone, but something in my expression made her hesitate. She could see I knew things that hadn't been in her original plan. "Go ahead and call them," I said, pulling out printed copies of the fake email she'd sent to herself. "I'd love to explain to Officer Martinez how you created harassment evidence by writing threatening messages to yourself. Or maybe we could discuss the Stanford University records showing Dr. Walsh never completed family therapy training there." Sarah's confident mask slipped for the first time since this nightmare began. Jake appeared in the doorway wearing his favorite dinosaur shirt, the one we'd bought together at the Natural History Museum. "Daddy," he shouted, running toward me before Sarah caught his arm. "Mom said you chose work over us. Mom said you might not come back." His innocent words hit me like physical blows, and I realized how deeply Sarah's lies had already poisoned his understanding of our relationship. "Jake, honey, go back to your cartoons," Sarah said, her voice tight with control. "Daddy and I need to talk about grown-up things." She guided him away from the door, but not before I saw confusion and hope pouring in his 7-year-old eyes. He wanted to believe his father hadn't abandoned him, but weeks of Sarah's manipulation had planted seeds of doubt. The living room felt like a courtroom as we sat across from each other with Monica fidgeting nearby. Sarah's posture remained defiant even as I spread evidence across the coffee table between us. Bank statements showing her payments to Monica. Phone records proving her coordination with Dr. Walsh. Screenshots of the fake email accounts she'd created using my name. "You want to know why I did this?" Sarah asked, her voice shifting from defensive to something much more dangerous. "Because I finally realized what kind of man I married. Someone who cares more about impressing clients than spending time with his family. Someone who thinks providing money is the same thing as being a father." Her words felt like knives designed to cut deep into my insecurities about balancing work and family. "I worked those extra hours for Jake's college fund," I replied, keeping my voice steady despite the rage building inside me. "I took that business trip to secure our financial future. Everything I did was for this family." The recorder in my pocket was capturing every word, but I needed her to reveal the real reasons behind her elaborate deception. Sarah's laugh was bitter and cruel. "You still don't get it, do you? This was never about Jake's future or our finances. This was about control. About showing you what it feels like to lose everything you think you own." Her mask had completely fallen away, revealing someone I'd never seen before despite 15 years of marriage. Monica shifted uncomfortably as Sarah continued her confession. "You thought you could make all the big decisions. Where we lived, how we spent money, when you traveled for work. You never asked my opinion, just assumed I'd go along with whatever you decided was best for the family." Her resentment had been building for years, festering beneath a surface I'd been too blind to see. "But taking Jake away from me doesn't solve any of those problems," I said, genuinely confused by her logic. "It just hurts him and destroys our family." Sarah's expression told me she'd moved beyond caring about solutions or healing. She wanted revenge more than she wanted happiness for anyone involved. The truth finally emerged like poison from an infected wound. "I met someone else, David. Someone who understands that being a partner means more than just bringing home paychecks. Someone who puts relationship before career." Sarah's affair explained the timing of everything, the calculated cruelty of using Jake as a weapon instead of simply asking for a divorce. "Dr. Walsh isn't just my college roommate," Sarah continued, her voice gaining confidence as she revealed her master plan. "She's also my lover's sister. Rebecca helped me build this case because she wanted to see her brother happy with someone who appreciates him." The conspiracy reached deeper than I'd imagined, involving people who'd never met me but were willing to destroy my relationship with Jake for Sarah's new romance. Jake's voice carried from the kitchen where he was getting a snack. "Aunt Monica, when is Daddy coming home? I miss reading bedtime stories with him." His innocent question hung in the air like an accusation, reminding everyone in the room what Sarah's revenge was costing the most important person in our lives. Sarah's face hardened as she realized her confession had been too complete, too revealing of motivations that wouldn't look good in family court. "You can't use anything I just said against me. This is my sister's house, and you're here illegally." But the damage was done, and we both knew it. The sound of police sirens approaching told me someone had called for backup, probably Sarah when she realized how badly this confrontation was going for her. Police Officer Martinez recognized me from Jake's Little League games, and that small connection saved me from spending another night in jail. Sarah's frantic 911 call claiming I was violating the restraining order fell apart when Martinez heard the recorded confession on Henderson's legal audio device. Her voice admitting to fraud, conspiracy, and perjury echoed through Monica's living room like a criminal's courtroom testimony, and suddenly everyone understood who the real victim was in this custody battle. Henderson arrived within 20 minutes, carrying boxes of evidence that transformed Monica's living room into an impromptu legal battlefield. Sarah's confident demeanor crumbled as my lawyer spread bank records, forged documents, and phone transcripts across the coffee table. Officer Martinez took notes while Sarah realized her elaborate conspiracy was collapsing in real time, witnessed by law enforcement who could testify in court about her admissions. Jake watched from the hallway as adults discussed his future in legal terms he couldn't understand. His confusion broke my heart more than Sarah's betrayal ever could. "Daddy, are you in trouble? Mom said you did bad things with money." His innocent question reminded everyone present that a 7-year-old boy had been weaponized in an adult conflict he never should have experienced. "Jake, come here, buddy," I said, kneeling down to his eye level despite Sarah's protests. "Daddy made some mistakes, but I never stopped loving you. I was working hard to make money for your college fund, not trying to hurt our family." Henderson nodded approvingly as I kept my explanation simple and age-appropriate, focusing on reassurance rather than blame. Dr. Walsh's medical license suspension became official while we were still in Monica's living room. Henderson's investigator had contacted Stanford University, who confirmed Walsh had never completed family therapy training there. Her testimony in over 200 custody cases was now under review by the state medical board. Sarah's expert witness had become a liability that could invalidate every case Walsh had ever touched. Monica's confession came next, triggered by Officer Martinez reading her rights regarding fraud and perjury charges. The $8,000 Sarah had paid her seemed less valuable when balanced against potential prison time. "I never wanted to hurt Jake," she sobbed, signing a sworn statement admitting she'd lied in her witness testimony. "Sarah convinced me David was really abusive, but I never saw any evidence myself." The fake storage unit evidence required a warrant, but Henderson had prepared all necessary paperwork in advance. Sarah's forged rental agreement, created using my stolen identification, became evidence of identity theft and fraud. The planted documents designed to make me look guilty instead proved her elaborate conspiracy to frame an innocent man for financial crimes. Sarah's new lover appeared at Monica's house just as handcuffs were being discussed. Dr. Walsh's brother was a divorce attorney named Kenneth, and his relationship with Sarah explained the sophisticated legal strategy behind her custody attack. Kenneth had provided inside knowledge about family court procedures while his sister manufactured professional testimony. Romance had evolved into a criminal conspiracy. Judge Morrison's emergency hearing happened at 4 p.m. that same day, an unusual Saturday session called due to the discovery of fraud in active court proceedings. Sarah sat in handcuffs while Henderson presented evidence of perjury, identity theft, and conspiracy. The same judge who'd signed the original restraining order now listened to recorded confessions that revealed how completely she'd been deceived. Jake was allowed to sit with me during the court proceedings, his small hand holding mine as we listened to legal language that would determine our future together. "Daddy, does this mean I can come home now?" he whispered, and Judge Morrison smiled at the first genuine moment in a courtroom full of lies and manipulation. "Yes, son, you can go home with your father today." The restraining order was dissolved immediately, along with the emergency custody arrangement that had separated us for 3 weeks. My frozen bank accounts were released, and Sarah was ordered to pay restitution for legal fees and financial damages caused by her false accusations. The system that had been weaponized against me was now working to restore justice. Sarah's arrest on fraud and conspiracy charges happened in the courthouse parking lot. Kenneth tried to post her bail, but additional charges were pending as investigators discovered the full scope of their document forgery operation. Dr. Walsh faced similar criminal prosecution, plus civil lawsuits from dozens of fathers whose lives had been damaged by her false testimony. Driving home with Jake felt like emerging from a nightmare into daylight. He chattered about school events I'd missed and friends who'd asked about my absence. "Tommy's dad said you were probably just working really hard to take care of me." I told him you always work hard for our family. His innocent faith in my character had survived Sarah's manipulation better than I dared hope. Our house looked exactly the same but felt completely different when we walked through the front door together. Jake ran straight to his bedroom to show me Lego projects he'd built while staying at Monica's house. "I saved the best ones to build with you when you came back," he said, and I realized children forgive more easily than adults deserve. Sarah's belongings had been removed by movers hired with her own money, leaving empty spaces that would be filled with better memories. Jake and I ordered pizza and watched his favorite movies, rebuilding our normal routine after weeks of chaos and uncertainty. Bedtime stories resumed with the same funny voices that made him giggle until we were both exhausted from laughter. Legal consequences continued unfolding over the following months, but Jake and I focused on healing our relationship and moving forward together. Sarah's elaborate conspiracy had backfired completely, costing her custody, freedom, and credibility. Her attempt to destroy my life had instead revealed her true character to everyone who mattered. I learned that trust, once broken by such calculated betrayal, could never be fully repaired. But I also learned that love between a father and son survives even the most sophisticated attacks designed to destroy it. Jake and I were home together, and that was all that really mattered.